Hey, this is Vu, and today I'm going to be talking about B site on Inferno. And this is one of those sites where I find it very easy to hold in pugs, especially if you know how to throw the one-ways, like this one right here. However, it's a lot harder to hold in scrims because teams with very solid executes, for example, the Kaboom execute, and I'll show you that a little bit later and explain it a little bit, where basically you Molotov first, second orders, new box, and smoke off both sides of the site. If you give up this top area of banana entirely, you will just get dominated by those executes. Most of the time I found that when a team gives up this top of banana, and my team knows that Kaboom strat, there really is like a 70% success rate in terms of taking over the site. Now, this doesn't mean losing the site on banana is actually the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is you lose the site and you lose control of construction. So this is something you really should be considering. If a team throws a solid execute, you can have a player over here or in CT that throws flashes to support but gives it up in favor of holding construction, because as long as you can hold this, B is still a very, very retakeable site. You can easily Molotov off towards new box there. You can Molotov back site. You can Molotov off a ton of angles as well as smoke off some other angles. And a lot of the time you're going to have plenty of nades left against teams that execute early. However, later on in the round you might be missing, the smokes, but you should still have quite a few mollies left. And as long as you can get control of construction, and you can try and hopefully, actually a lot of the time you might be able to hold control of garden as well, just like in terms of holding an angle like this and being able to get out there easily. Retaking banana actually isn't all that hard. You just need to make sure that you don't both die and give up free control of construction like that. However, generally what you want to be doing at banana, rather than giving up top banana easily and letting them get executes like that, you really want to be trying to force control in this area, in all of banana, but especially in this top banana area. You want to make them very afraid that at any time you can have an opper behind car, you can have an opper up here on cart. By the way, this is one of my favorite angles because they strafe out right in front of you. You can get some easy kills. If you miss, you just jump back and you can get away maybe 50% of the time. And the only thing they ever do to clear that angle is sometimes they might flash over and then peek to clear corner, in which case you can still get away without taking barely any damage most of the time. You also want to make them worried about you playing behind sandbags, where sometimes they'll have to molly it, especially if you play very strong sandbags a couple of rounds, and things like that. You just want to switch it up a lot. So sometimes you can have an opper, again, play here. You can throw the fast banana. You just want to be drawing out as many nades and flashes as possible, as well as much time as possible from a terrorist team before they get control of top of banana, because that's when they start being able to work the rest of the map. That's when they start being able to throw fakes. And in my opinion, one of the strongest ways, and one of the reasons, if you look back, I believe it's like a year ago at this point, or maybe even more, back when Envious, LDLC at the time, were insane on Inferno, one of the reasons they were so good on Inferno was because they were able to always, nearly 100% of the time, isolate the rotator, where there would always be, 3 people at B and they'd hit A, or there'd be 2 people at A and they'd be 3 people at A and maybe only 1 guy at B if they got a pick, and they hit B. They always hit the weak site, and so the longer you can prevent them from getting control of this area, the more you can prevent them from actually causing rotates, and you can have more players at the correct side of the map instead of kind of in transition, like a lot of the time might happen if they have control of this. Because if they get control of top banana and they get control of brackets, think about how little control of the map your team has. You're really starting to do a lot of guesswork. So it really needs to be a bit of a coordinated thing where you can contest this a little bit and you're also contesting brackets and trying to prevent them from getting control of those two things at once. And that's one of the things that makes Inferno such a team-oriented map, where you really need to be coordinating control of those two areas as much as possible, where you can go aggressive at banana and you can also go a little bit aggressive in other places and try and, vary out around the map. Now, one of the ways this actually plays out is trying to catch teams in transition. Now, this is something very important for you to know on every single map, is you want to catch teams in transition whenever they get a pick or whenever they get control of an area. So, for example, if your team gets picked by a player at truck, you want to catch this banana player in transition. So a lot of the time what teams will do, and this is, I call it the VP strat, the VP default actually, because it's one that they used to do. I'm not sure if they still do it. They would send 2 to 3 players banana, get full control of banana, and then just lurk one guy right around here, and they would send back and they would take top bracket control. And I think this is a very solid default. However, a lot of the time what happens is this player might want to start to rotate off when they get a pick, or he might start to actually turtle, because what happens is you get a pick towards A and you expect them to push something. So what he'll do is he'll turtle for a little while, maybe look at the wall, or he might be kind of holding this angle here, and then he'll go back and hold a counter flash angle a little bit later. What you want to do is try and catch this player in transition. So he might be a little bit comfortable here at first until they get the pick, then he plays more safe, or maybe even he's holding here playing safe and they get the pick and he wants to rotate off. Either of those things could be happening. Again, catch him in that transition. Don't give any time. Coordinate it with your teammate. Have a flash. And by the way, I think the best way to flash banana is to flash through this chimney, as it prevents a little bit of that time where the opposing player can actually see the flash coming. If you flash through the chimney, and it's actually quite easy to do, it'll go straight through the chimney and they have very little time to react. And then you try and get that push instantly, because on Inferno, the more you delay that push, you're actually kind of shooting yourself in the foot quite a bit. Now again, very applicable on every map. On Cache, for example, if you get picked at mid, you want to push into A main a lot of the time as fast as possible if you're going to do that before they can set up or before they can rotate off and already be executing on another bomb site. So I would really recommend actually coordinating that and trying to figure out, the fastest way. You get picked at A, let's push, instantly, and you throw the flash and you guys push together or something like that. And one of the ways I found effective to do on this map is we get picked at mid or picked at A, one player throws this flash and then strafes out wide and throws this flash. And the reason I have him throw both of them in some scenarios is because the first flash blows up, he starts to peek out, and then sometimes there might be a player that's playing anti-flash, hears that go off and then peeks out wide, and then he gets blind by that. And this player peeking along the back wall won't get blind at all. So I find that to be one effective way to do it. However, there's, plenty of effective ways to do it. And the other way to play this map is, of course, you can be silently rotating one off, just to try and stack the other bomb site. Again, this is something you want to be doing as much as possible if you can, where you rotate off and try and stack different bomb sites. However, one thing I will quickly note, do not ever, under any circumstances, run through here, okay? Maybe not, not under any circumstances, okay? Because you actually do want to rotate here if you want a quick rotate. However, this player at banana, again, on the VP default, on plenty of other defaults, sitting here, or even sitting at car, they will hear you. And the instant they hear you, they're going to rotate around and they're going to hit the weak bomb sites. You never want to be doing that. Never, ever, unless you're forced to. Wow, way to go. Way to go, English. Unless you're forced to, you never want to be running through there. So, post that, really what you're trying to do is actually just smoke this off and delay that smoke for as long as possible. Really, Inferno's just about, hold on to your smokes and nades as long as possible, draw out theirs as fast as possible, delay them as much as possible in terms of, drawing out their smokes, preventing them from taking top banana early, and so on. Now, the other thing you can do, I would highly recommend this, coming out here and spamming on top of the cart. I don't know what people call that. At one point I called this cart and someone didn't understand me. I'm really not sure. Either way, spamming on top of that can be incredibly strong, and I don't see quite enough people do it. A ton of people just jump on top of this and sit right here waiting, and it's just so easy to get that kill. And I guarantee if you do that against a lot of teams, you're going to get a kill like multiple times throughout a half. After that, you want to be playing these double up setups where, for example, you're playing one CT, one first oranges, or you can actually play something like one new box and one spools where you're kind of playing off of each other. For example, if you're spools, this guy can throw the flash off the corner there, and the guy spools is peeking with that. Then this guy can come over here. He can throw this flash off the wall. Not quite that flash. I believe it's like that. A little bit lower. Something like that. There you go. And the guy spools can peek out with it. Things like that, where you're kind of supporting each other, especially when you're in spots where you can fall back at least a little bit to delay as much as possible. And with this spools guy, he can actually fall all the way off if he needs to, even to somewhere like back here where you can catch them crossing if this guy new box is still alive, and he can fall back into construction, as I said earlier, holding on to a spot where it makes it a million times easier to hold onto the site. And of course that means on the flip side, if they both die at at Banana, you want to try and get control of construction if you can. So you have that first player that jumps up through here. You know, a lot of the time your entry fragger comes here. If you get both kills, have him just jump in, get right around here as fast as possible, and then you can sneak another player in, get him right there, and play that, you know, crossfire setup. Anyways, Inferno Banana is quite a complicated site to try and hold. However, hopefully I've given you some idea on how to hold it, and I hope this helped.